The rain fell without mercy, as if the clouds had decided to empty every sorrow they carried onto the city at once. Water rushed along the broken edges of the road, filling cracks, swallowing dust, turning the familiar street into something cold and unfriendly. Alia walked carefully, her head bent against the wind, her thin shawl pulled tight around her small frame. Each step sent a chill up her legs as muddy water soaked through her worn sandals, but she kept moving, counting her breaths, focusing on the dim glow of the streetlights ahead. Her day had started before sunrise, as it always did. School in the morning, then straight to the roadside stall where she washed plates and wiped tables until her fingers wrinkled and her arms ached. The owner paid little, but it was enough to buy lentils and a bit of flour. Enough to keep her family going one more day. Tonight, tucked carefully inside a cloth bag at her side, was a single piece of flatbread she had saved from her meal. She hadn't touched it all evening, telling herself she wasn't hungry. It was for her younger brother, who would be waiting at home with hopeful eyes. As she passed the old bus stop, the flickering streetlight caught her attention. A tall man stood beneath it, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. His coat was dark and heavy, but completely soaked, rainwater dripping from the hem. His hair clung to his forehead, and his shoulders were hunched against the cold. He looked up the road again and again, as if expecting something to appear out of the rain. Alia slowed her pace. People usually avoided stopping at night, especially in weather like this. Her mother always warned her to go straight home. Still, something about the man made her pause. He didn't look dangerous, he looked lost. A rickshaw splashed past, spraying dirty water onto the curb. The man raised his hand too late, then let it fall back to his side. For a brief moment, his eyes met Alia's. There was no anger there, no impatience, only weariness, the kind that settled deep in the bones. She took a step forward, then stopped. Her heart beat faster, not with fear, but with the weight of a decision. Home was close. Her family was waiting. The bread in her bag suddenly felt heavier than it should have. "Uncle," she said at last, her voice small but clear, almost lost in the sound of rain hitting metal and stone. The man turned, startled. "Yes," he replied, his voice rough from cold. "The buses won't come now," she said, gesturing at the empty road. "The rain is too strong." He gave a short, humorless laugh. "I think you're right," he said. "I've been waiting for a while." "You'll get sick standing here," Alia added. She hesitated, then spoke again, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "My house is close. It's not big, but it's dry. You can wait there until the rain slows." For a moment, the man seemed unsure. He glanced down the road, then back at her, as if weighing pride against necessity. A sudden gust of wind cut through the street, and he shivered. Finally, he nodded. "Thank you," he said quietly. "That's very kind of you." They walked together through the rain, Alia leading the way through narrow lanes she knew by heart. The water soaked her shawl completely now, but she didn't mind. She felt strangely lighter, as if the storm mattered less with someone else sharing it. Their home was a single room with a low doorway and a tin roof that rattled loudly when rain struck it. Alia pushed the door open, and warm yellow light spilled out. Her mother looked up in surprise, then concern, when she saw the stranger. "He was stuck in the rain," Alia explained quickly. "I told him he could wait here." Her mother studied the man's face for a second, then nodded. "Of course," she said. "Please, come in." Inside, the air smelled of boiled tea and damp clothes. Alia's little brother peeked out from behind their mother, curious eyes wide. Alia hung her shawl near the door and quietly took the flatbread from her bag. She placed it on a small metal plate and set it in front of the man. "Please," she said, "eat something. You must be cold." The man looked down at the plate, then back at her. "And what will you eat?" he asked gently. "I already ate," she said, meeting his gaze without hesitation. Her mother didn't say anything, but her eyes softened. She poured a cup of hot tea and handed it to the man with both hands. "It's simple," she apologized, "but it's warm." He wrapped his fingers around the cup, as if drawing comfort from the heat. "It's perfect," he said. As he ate, slowly and carefully, Alia sat on the floor near the door, listening to the rain. She wasn't hungry anymore. Or perhaps she was, but the feeling had faded beneath something else, a quiet sense that this was the right thing to do. The storm continued for a long time. The man told them a little about himself, how he had come to the city for work and missed his connection. He didn't complain, didn't speak of hardship in a dramatic way. He simply spoke, and they listened. When the rain finally softened to a steady drizzle, he stood up. "I should go," he said. Thank you for everything. He reached into his pocket, then stopped, his expression thoughtful. I don't have much cash with me, he admitted. But I won't forget this. One day, I hope I can repay your kindness. Alia shook her head quickly. You don't need to, she said. Just get home safe. The man smiled, a real smile this time, and nodded. As he stepped back into the night, the rain seemed a little lighter, as if even the storm had noticed the kindness shared beneath its shadow. Winter crept in quietly, first through the mornings when the air felt sharper, then through the evenings when the sky darkened too quickly. Life for Alia did not change much at first. She still woke before dawn, helped her mother with chores, walked to school with books pressed to her chest, and hurried afterward to the roadside stall where work waited. The memory of the stormy night faded into something warm but distant, like a small lamp glowing in the back of her mind. Yet sometimes, when rain clouds gathered or a cold wind brushed her face, she remembered the stranger's eyes and the way he had eaten that flatbread as if it mattered. She never expected to see him again. Kindness, she believed, was something you gave and then let go of. One afternoon, as sunlight spilled through the classroom windows, her teacher paused mid-lesson and looked toward the door. A man stood there, speaking quietly. He looked different now, clean clothes, calm posture, but there was something familiar about him. When his eyes found Alia, recognition flickered instantly, and a gentle smile spread across his face. Alia, her teacher said, please come here. Her heart thudded as she walked to the front, unsure of what she had done wrong. The man stepped forward slightly. Hello, he said softly. Do you remember me? She stared at him for a second, then nodded slowly. You were, the man from the rain, she said, barely above a whisper. He chuckled, eyes warm. Yes, I was hoping you would remember. The class buzzed with curiosity, but the teacher raised a hand for silence. The man spoke to her privately for a moment, then thanked the teacher and asked permission to speak with Alia's mother later that day. Alia returned to her seat in a daze, her mind spinning with questions. That evening, the man sat on the same worn mat in their small home where he had once dried his hands by a cup of tea. He explained everything, slowly, respectfully. After that night, he said, he had returned to his work with a changed heart. Things had not magically improved overnight, but they had steadied. The memory of a young girl sharing what little she had pushed him forward on days he wanted to give up. I realized something, he said, looking at Alia and then at her mother. If a child with so little could give so freely, then I could do more with what I had. He spoke of starting a small program to help children who worked after school, children who wanted to learn but were held back by circumstances. Alia listened, barely breathing. I came back to find her, he said. Not to repay a debt, but to make sure her kindness didn't become a burden she had to carry alone. Her mother covered her mouth, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. Alia felt as if the room were spinning, the walls too close, the air too full. He did not place money into Alia's hands. Instead, he laid out papers on the floor, school enrollment forms, a letter guaranteeing full support for her education, books, uniforms, and a small monthly assistance for the family so Alia would no longer need to work nights. Alia's first reaction was fear. But, we didn't ask for this, she said. He nodded. I know. That's why it matters. Her mother's voice trembled as she thanked him, again and again. Alia sat silently, staring at the papers, trying to understand how a single night had led to this moment. Before leaving, the man took out a simple notebook and handed it to her. Inside the first page, written neatly, were words she would remember forever: kindness is never lost. It only waits for the right time to return. That night, the house felt different. Not bigger, not richer, but lighter. For the first time, Alia opened her schoolbooks under a steady light without worrying about the hours slipping away from work. Her brother slept peacefully, full and warm. Her mother hummed softly as she folded clothes. Days turned into weeks. Alia stayed after school to study. She learned without rushing, without exhaustion clouding her thoughts. Sometimes she helped other students, remembering how it felt to struggle silently. The man visited occasionally, never as someone above them, but as someone who cared. One evening, rain began to fall again, gentle this time, tapping softly on the tin roof. Alia stood by the door and watched it, the memory of that storm returning. She smiled, understanding now that kindness did not always come back as money or opportunity. Sometimes it returned as purpose. She had been poor in possessions, yes, but rich enough in heart to change the path of her life.